One.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the premiere, the inaugural, and if that vocabulary is too much for you, the very first episode of Clipboard Confessional with Bobby and Anthony. I'm Anthony Aniano. You may have heard me on Rotoballer Radio. Bobby Waugh, you may have heard him on his old podcast, Get Your Bell Rung, one of the greatest names, by the way, in fantasy football podcasts ever. The superpowers have united, like the Hulkster and the Macho Man, and joined forces to bring you Clipboard Confessional. Bobby, how are you on this Thursday afternoon for our first episode?
My man, I am doing great. I'm a teacher. It's the summer.
Are you
I'm
off? Did
living.
you hit the break? Did you hit your
I've
break?
hit the break, buddy. I hit the break. I actually took a little week early. I just got back from Turks and Caicos, got married while I was there.
Look at this guy.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm firing on all cylinders. I back up in this podcast game and I am pumped.
Yeah, I'm excited to be. I mean, you and I have talked for years. We're in leagues together. To be able to come together and give this a go, I'm excited about it. And today's first episode, we're going to talk about an interesting topic. We're going to take a look at the running back position, but more specifically, the rookies, the 2025 rookie class. We're going to take a look at some of these rookies and where we should be looking at them in our upcoming fantasy drafts. It's June. It's about the middle of June as we record this, June 19th to be exact. So those industry leagues are starting, your online leagues you could sign up for, and then your beer and pizza with your buddy leagues, those are going to be rolling along in just a couple of weeks. So we got to take a look at it. And part of the reason when we talked, I like this idea, is because of news that broke last week out of Vegas. Pete Carroll, the new head coach of the Vegas Raiders, comes out and causes some waves, Bobby. And he says that Ashton Jeanty, okay, Boise State, pick 1-6 in the draft, and then uses the dreaded C word of fantasy football, right? Committee. And you go, are you kidding me? Raheem Mostert, Zamir White. Are we really entertaining the idea that Mostert is going to take carries? Kind of like how Tyler Algier has been a thorn in Bijan Robinson's side. Is that in your mind like a coach speak, or does it kind of sway you away? Because Genty's going in the first round of drafts as we sit here, 1.9 ADP in FFPC. Are you worried about that coach speed at all from Pete Carroll?
So I'm one of the crazy guys that come January, February, I take probably 60 prospects that I think could possibly go in the first round of the NFL draft. And I find film with them. Full games, first play to last play, and I break it all down on these guys. And I got to Ashton Jeanty, and I write notes on everybody. And you know what I
Mm-hmm.
wrote for Ashton Jeanty?
Stud.
I didn't write anything because I didn't have to. I mean, he is what, the best prospect since Bijan, Saquon, Barkley. I love Pete Carroll. I love watching the videos of him, 75 years old, however old he is, wrestling around with his players on the field. There is absolutely no way that 30-year-old Raheem Mostert is going to take carries away from one of the best running back prospects we've seen in a decade. There's no way that they're going to give the ball to Zamir White or whoever else they have on that depth chart. It's just not going to happen, especially since Ashton Jeanty is a 3-down player. He didn't do a lot of receiving work this past year as a senior, but his junior year, he did. He caught the ball out of the backfield of Boise State, and it's not something I'm worried about, not even a little bit.
Okay. So, and I agree with you. Understand, I fully agree with you. So now the question becomes that Raiders offense, Geno Smith now under center, Brock Bowers, the all-world tight end, Jeanty, you kind of see the direction they're going. They didn't add a wide receiver. Some people like Jacoby Myers there. They think he can have a nice season. Knowing that you and I can pinpoint where this Raiders offense is going, right? It's Bowers, it's Jeanty. Fine. Are you worried that there's not enough dimensions to this Raiders offense, that when you look at that ADP, and I agree with you on the talent, but when you look at that ADP of 1.9, Is Ashton Genty a sure enough thing at 1-9 with guys like Jameer Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley at the running back position, wide receivers galore worthy of a first round pick? Is there any hesitation with you, Genty, when it comes to that ADP?
So when we're talking about the ADP, he's the what? Fifth running back off the board?
Give me your first four: Bijan, Saquon, Jameer Gibbs. Who am I
And
forgetting?
well, maybe CMC, maybe Derrick Henry, depending on how you feel about the older
Mm-hmm.
generation of running backs here. I mean, CMC can win you a league. I think Genty's probably a safer bet. I mean, his floor is, in my opinion, pretty high, even as a rookie. And so if I'm sitting there at the ninth, 10th pick in the first round, right, we probably have three, four running backs off the board, top three wide receivers. For me personally, I'm
So now
probably
you're
leaning
saying
with.
seven. You're saying three receivers, three running backs. You're potentially talking as high as seven then.
Okay, well, yeah, okay, you're right, you're right. So, boy, that's tough. If I'm sitting there looking at it, for me in the first round, I don't want to gamble a whole lot. And I know he's a rookie, but history tells us every year there's at least one or two running backs that get rookie running backs that end up as a top 24 running back. Now, you draft in the first round, you don't want a top 24 guy, you want a top 4 or 5 guy. And I think that outcome for Genty is absolutely there, especially with his receiving work. I mentioned in college, his junior year, he had 43 grabs for almost 600 yards and 5 touchdowns, and that's through the air. So he's got that in him. And Geno Smith, he's a much better quarterback than what Vegas was rolling out last year.
Yeah.
And you mentioned some of the other weapons with Brock Bowers and those receivers. Who's their number one here? Jacoby Myers, maybe? I mean, Jack Best
You
is
could be the number two.
right. Jack Best, maybe a second, but he's running with the second team right now. He is going to be leaned on heavily. I don't mind making the jump. I mean, we just saw Bijan do it a couple years ago. He finished as an RB1 his rookie year, I believe. I don't mind doing it. It doesn't scare me at 9 or 10 at all,
Would
really.
you move up for him? Would you put him ahead of, say, Gibbs?
No,
12 team
absolutely.
redraft. No.
No, I can't do that. I can tell you I have him right now. I'm looking at my rankings. I have him at RB7, but
Wow.
it's just going to depend on how I feel. I have CMC and Henry ahead of him, but it
I
just
can't do that. I
depends.
could do Henry. I
I
can't do CMC.
and that's fine. And probably by the time August rolls around, I won't be able to do it either. But for right now, the the allure of having that RB1 and getting him as the RB5 or 6 or 7 or 8, wherever CMC is going to end up going, is tough. I'll probably have Genty above him, and Genty he may even hop Derrick Henry for me. He'll definitely. I can't see him going RB4 for me, but he'll definitely be RB5 to 7 range.
Yeah, I think he's locked in first round, back in the first round. And I do think you'll see people want to take that chance and take him even earlier. Now, I don't know whether that will be you or I, but I think people will take that chance. And somebody, I'm telling you right now, somebody in your buddy league will be a couple of drinks in, and we'll take Genty even earlier than that, so they could take the victory lap if they hit. And it's going to be interesting to see. But I will say this: Genty's the surest of sure bets here on our list today. So let's go through some of these other ones. And the other one, listen, I love this kid out of North Carolina, Omarion Hampton. Pick 122. Couldn't have landed in a better spot. Maybe even a better spot than Genty, landing with the Chargers. They signed Najee Harris, which is as yawn-inducing a free agent signing I think you could have in the NFL. So he's there. ADP is reasonable as of today, and it's June, and a lot of this ADP will change as the summer goes along. But Omari and Hampton, would it be outrageous to say I'm taking him as my RB2? Or if I decide to stack wide receivers, start my running backs with Omari and Hampton? Because I have a funny feeling you're going to see an awful lot of them this year.
Starting with Hampton would scare me. I currently have him as my RB24, so just in the RB2 ranks. And when it comes to rookie running backs, I think it's so easy to get so excited about these guys. I mean, the tape looks awesome and they're running over dudes. And Hampton's, I mean, his college film is wonderful. I hate to say it, it reminds me of Javonte Williams. I know they went to the same school.
That's
I know,
terrifying.
it is, I know, but I mean, they definitely have some similarities, similar builds. But you got to look at these guys. I think too often we get so enamored with and excited about what could be, but we need to take like a grumpy old man approach because I mean, you just poo-pooed Mr. Najee Harris, a guy that what 4 straight 1,000 yard seasons.
Hmm.
He scored 6 touchdowns last year. Not a lot, but it's the least he's ever scored in a season in his career. He's got a season with 74 grabs under his belt. I know he's boring. We don't like watching him. He averages 4 yards a carry for his career, 3.9 if we're, you know, doing that thing. But I think he's going to be more of a thorn in Hampton's side than anyone wants him to be, which is why I have Hampton as the lowest RB2 in my rankings. I would love to have him be a top 20 back. And if he's my RB2, I'm okay with it. If I hit wide receivers early and end up getting Hampton, but I'm probably not going to get Hampton because I have him so low. And you got a back with 4,300 yards in 4 seasons in the NFL coming in to compete with. I mean, that's a little worrisome for me.
50-50 split between him and Harris?
If
60
I had
40 in favor of one or the other? What do you think?
If I had to guess, I would say first 6 games it's 60-40 Harris. And then I think Hampton sort of flips a script and ends up as a 60-40 in Hampton's favor towards the end of the year. If I was betting money, that's what I would say probably happens. I mean, the rookie's got to get his feet wet. You got Genty, you got some big name guys that you just throw in there from day one and just, give them the rock every play. I don't know they're going to do that with Hampton.
And here's the thing, and you know this, and everybody knows this. I'm not saying anything we don't know. If a rookie running back can't block, a rookie running back doesn't see the field. And there's no way the Chargers will put Justin Herbert in a situation with Hampton on the field if Hampton can't protect him. So that's going to be telling to see. Forget about OTAs because I don't care. Once you're in the depth, in the heart of spring training and in preseason games, if he's not holding up as a blocker as well, uh, you'll see Harris, like you said, more and more, especially early on. I like Hampton. I like him as an RB2. I think the role is there. But it's going to be interesting because his ADP is so significantly higher than Najee Harris that what you're telling me is Najee Harris can be a sneaky little steal then later on in the draft for that, you know, 10-point floor running back, that grinder who gets you in the
Yep.
end zone. He'll be putting up some points early on. Um, Hampton's tape, if it wasn't for Ashton Genty, Hampton's tape would have stood out even more coming out of college. Is that safe for me to say?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You
I
know,
Yeah. I mean, his tape. Like I said, so I know I'm going to do it again, but when Javonte Williams came out, I mean, he was my RB1 of that class. I loved, 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 and he could pass block. He would rock linebackers
mm-hmm.
coming in. So you're right. If he can't, and hopefully, I know we're going to get to him, but reading reports about Caleb Johnson, the Steelers, they're really focusing on pass blocking for him here in like OTAs and the beginning part of the summer to make sure he has that element to his game when August, September rolls around. So hopefully they're doing the same thing with Hampton. It will only make sense for them for that to be the case.
So let's talk about Caleb
Real,
Johnson for a minute,
real
and we'll
quick.
go back to the Cleveland. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to ask you one quick question. Does it worry you at all that Denver, who absolutely needed a running back, passed on Hampton when they could have had him? I mean, Hampton was getting mocked to Denver every which way. All kinds of pundits. He's going to Denver. Denver might even trade up to get him. And they passed on him to take RJ Harvey in the second round. Does it worry you at
Does
all
it
that they
worry me? No, because the depth in that second round of the running back was fantastic, and I think it was you. I think it was you or somebody. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong, but leading into that draft, I said it. I'm like, the most fun part of this past NFL draft to me was that second round, because that's when your fantasy assets started rolling off the board. And you saw that, right? Three running backs on that day two. You had four running backs go, and with the opportunity for significant playing time. Like I tell the story all the time. The same year Saquon Barkley was drafted, what, second overall by the Giants, Nick Chubb went in the second round.
Mhm.
So, especially at that position, there's so much value there. What was Ramondre Stevenson? A third, a fourth round pick, if I remember?
Fourth, I
Uh,
believe.
a fourth round pick. Now, his job could be in jeopardy this year, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So, no, like if I'm Denver and I say, okay, I want a running back, if I got to go first round to take Amari and Hampton, or I get at 2.28 RJ Harvey, I'll wait till 2.28. Isn't it like kind of like fantasy football, right? Why would I take this guy in round one when I could get a similar profile in round two? And that's kind of what Denver did, right? Now they signed J.K. Dobbins. Now is so RJ Harvey, you can make a case, is in a similar situation now as Omari and Hampton, right? The plotter, the veteran, the boring running back who's probably going to start the year ahead of him on the depth charts, and you're going to have to be patient and wait for him to take hold. And RJ Harvey, an ADP overall of 53, Omari and Hampton, as we sit here, FFPC or ADP at 45. So they're going within a round of each other, the veteran going significantly later. And you made a great point. That veteran's probably going to start the season atop the depth charts, right? Right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And Dobbins, man, gosh, I don't want to. He just, I think when you look at the numbers, you think, he's a plotter and he's old and he's hurt and this and that, and all of that is true. But the dude produces when he's on the field.
Yeah.
And I mean, his yards per carry for his career are up. He scores touchdowns. I think he had what, 9 touchdowns last year. He's always getting it done when he's on the field. The problem is he's not always on the field. Um,
Achilles, ACL. I mean, you name it. The lower body's been beat up.
right, but he keeps coming back. He keeps like it's crazy. It's like, oh, he's not this is it for him. Sorry. I mean, do you remember, did you see a picture a couple years ago of what his knee looked like? I mean, it was like
Yeah.
an alien was trying to like dig out of his kneecap, and then he had that long run where he just, I mean, died after 20 yards. But it didn't matter. He goes to the Chargers this past year, still gets it done. 4.6 yards
Yeah.
a carry. Last year, when he's supposed to be done, he was RB 17 in points per game. So how about this? Oh, here comes grumpy old man. Let's say Denver doesn't take RJ Harvey. Let's say they take Hampton. Do you think they sign Dobbins if they have Hampton? Because I think you only sign Dobbins because it's not like, I mean, they still have Estime, they still have Jaleel McLaughlin. I think they signed Dobbins because maybe Harvey's not looking exactly like they thought he would.
Right. Well, Dobbins was one of the he was floating around in free agency forever. And now you
Right?
mentioned a good point. They just drafted Estime last year. McLaughlin's been productive. Is that Denver backfield too crowded now for you to take Harvey, where his current ADP? I'll answer for myself. The answer is yes.
Hmm.
The answer is yes for me, because you said it. Dobbins, when healthy, and he wasn't healthy the whole year last year, was productive. A year ago, everybody loved the upside of Estime going into Denver. McLaughlin's been a nice little PPR machine, a little scat back coming out of the backfield. That is a crowded room there in Denver. You want to continue to develop Bo Nix. Like, so here's the what I'll ask you. Okay. Without thinking too much, what Denver Bronco leads the team in touches out of that backfield?
I think it's Dobbins. I mean, he may only have to play 8 games to do it, you know? And you mentioned McLaughlin. You Again, this is one of those things where Dobbins always hurt. He's not producing. You look at the numbers, I might be wrong. How about Jaleel McLaughlin? Yeah, he's a PPR machine, this and that. The dude had 27 targets last year, 24 catches. He's in your mind, because my mind's made up too. Like he's the third down back. Nope. I mean, and if he is a third down back, he's not getting that pass game work.
Right.
Now they did have quite a bit of targets to the running back position. Javonte Williams had 70 targets. And then McLaughlin came down to 24. They have, well over 100 targets for the running back position in general. We know Bo Nix doesn't mind checking down. So someone's getting that pass game work. If Harvey can take that role, because Dobbins has never really been much of a pass catcher. I mean, he can do it, but
Right.
that's not his deal. So what if Dobbins gets, he gets the first two drives of a game and then Harvey gets a drive. But then Harvey, we work in that pass blocking, we get that third down work. Um, there's a path, but I don't like it. And like you, I agree. I don't trust enough to take him where his current ADP is.
Yeah. So I think we agree. Come that 40 to 55 range of drafts, you and I are on the same page. We're taking Hampton over Harvey. And reality is
Yes.
we're going to have to be a little patient with Hampton. May even want to draft Najee Harris later in the draft to hedge that pick a little bit.
That's where's
I'm willing
Najee
to
going?
do that.
Because that's I feel like they might be too close together. I mean, it's not a true handcuff. It's I mean, if you draft them both, you may be playing them both, and that's not really something that I really want to do because they might be close enough in ADP where it's like,
Yeah.
they might are they separated by what, 3 rounds maybe? I don't know. I don't have the ADP up in front of me. And if
Yeah.
that's
No,
the
that's a fair
case,
point. You don't want to go two running backs from the same team in round 4 and then round 6
correct.
because then one of them is a wasted pick. Well, so speaking of that, let's pivot now for a minute. Two Ohio State running backs drafted 2 picks apart. Okay. Quinshawn Junkins goes to Cleveland. And who knows? Who knows? I mean, you talk about one of the great unknowns. What does that Cleveland offense end up looking like this year? Right, 4 quarterbacks, potentially none of them that good. Um, Now you got a running back. They draft 2 running backs in Junkins and then Dylan Sampson, more of a pass catching back. They have Jerome Ford, and then Travion Henderson goes 2 picks later, also out of Ohio State to the Patriots. Ramondre Stevenson's still there. And that team is clearly building around Drake May. They added Stephon Diggs as long as we keep him off the boat. Uh, there's again, and they're both going later in drafts right now, ADP, then Harvey, and then Hampton. You and I have talked about it. I've grabbed Junkins in some rookie only drafts, but both of these guys are in a situation where, Ramondre Stevenson's being forgotten about, but that's been a productive running back in his career. Jerome Ford has been productive at times for Cleveland. Is there a preference there, or are we staying grumpy old man and kind of avoiding these running backs where they're currently going?
Dude, listen, I like the grumpy old man thing. I know I threw it out there, but I think that's what we have to do because it's so easy. You watch Judkins' film and Henderson's film from college; they're both awesome. They were 3 and 4 for me in my rankings for the running back class this year, and I had Henderson at 3 and Judkins at 4. And if it's me, I mean, Judkins and Ford, it feels like Hampton and Harris, doesn't it? Now Henderson's in a little different boat because his game's set up differently. He's the explosive one. He's the exciting one. Judkins and Hampton, they're between the tackles. They're going to get you those tough yards. They're going to be more the goal line back. I probably lean Henderson at the moment. Um, Again, Ramondre Stevenson's been okay. He's been fine. I don't know that he's ever performed where we thought he was going to. And Henderson, he can pass block, so he's gonna be on the field, especially on third downs. He's got that pass catching, he's got that in his bag, and that guy can score from anywhere. Now his games aren't gonna, it's gonna be more of a roller coaster with him. He may go out and get you 3 or 4 points one week, but then he's gonna get you 23 or 24 the next week. So right now, I'm probably leading Henderson as far as Judkins goes. And like you said, Jerome Ford. I mean, he created 4.5 yards per touch last year. Like he was up there in yards
Out of
created.
sheer will, he gave them 4.5 yards per touch.
I know. And the Patriots. I love Mike Vrabel. I think he is a fantastic NFL coach. And like you said, man, the Cleveland Browns, what does that offense look like? They have 5 quarterbacks in the room right now, 6 quarterbacks in the room. The offense was not good last year. Their O line is aging. It's a weak spot on their team, and it's tough for me to get behind Judkins when he's got a bad O line, when he's on a bad team. I mean, they're going to be throwing the ball. If you want a Brown, you should probably take a receiver, Judy or Tillman or somebody, because they're going to have to throw. They're going to have to keep up with some
Yeah,
teams.
who's throwing it though? That's the other question.
Right. Yeah. Right. I know.
So your take on these two running backs, even though Henderson's partner in the backfield, Stevenson, is better than anybody they have than say Ford, right? Henderson's got a tougher running mate to take carries. Henderson also plays what I think could end up being one of the more improved offenses in the league, though. So we'll draft based on that, right? Drake May is greater than 5 Browns.
Yes.
Stephon Diggs, great, potentially a better wide receiver one than Jerry Jeudy because of who Jeudy has throwing him the ball. So you take if you have to decide, and they're going, like I said, within 7 or 8 picks of each other, play it safe and take the running back on the better team.
Yes, absolutely 100%. I mean, Cleveland had the worst scoring offense in the league last year.
Yeah.
I
And New
don't
England did
want
improve their offensive line this offseason.
Yes.
But Vrabel comes in and Vrabel says, all right, Drake May is the center of my universe. I've got to make my branches around him now solid. So get me a wide receiver, get me my offensive lineman, draft me, like you said, an explosive running back, because we got to compete with Buffalo's offense. We have to. Miami's coming off a down year, but we know when Tua is on the field, that offense can put up points. We don't worry about the Jets because they're the Jets. Okay, let's acknowledge.
I don't know,
that.
Man. Get Fields, get
Stop.
Wilson together,
Stop.
Brees
That's going
Hall.
to be another show.
Come on.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. No, we're not. Justin Fields. Justin Fields can run for 5,000 yards this year, and the Jets will still win 5 games. But anyway, I digress. All right. Now, let's talk about this one because I find this one interesting. The Giants trying to finally move in the right direction. They had a nice draft last year. They brought in Tyrone Tracy, Malik Neighbors, Theo Johnson, I think, has talent at the tight end position. This year, I love their draft. Carter early. I liked moving up for Jackson Dart. I was fine with that. And then in the 4th round, they take what arguably was the darling of the college running back season, Arizona running back Cam Scatterbo. Okay. And I have said this, and I said this to you before the show. By the end of this upcoming season, I personally believe you will see more Scatterbo jerseys, the blue or the white with the red Giant jerseys, Scatterbo on the back. You will see more of those jerseys of current players. You'll still see your Lawrence Taylor jerseys, your Eli Mannings, but Scatterbo jerseys than any other player on that current team. Now, that is partly due to the fact that Giant fans always fall in love with the underdog. Look at Tommy DeVito, who was barely an NFL quality quarterback, and yet Giant fans, if you listen to the radios, wanted him to get signed to a lifelong contract. Tyrone Tracy puts the ball on the floor way too much. Tyrone Tracy is a former wide receiver who can have a nice role catching the ball, but Scatterbo catches the ball as well. Currently, Scatterbo is going at about pick 100. Again, close to where Tracy is going. Does Scatterbo, and you watch more film than me, I'll readily admit that, have a skill set that translates to an everyday down back in the NFL? Or are we looking at a guy who's going to be useful, but his best days were in college?
All right. Grumpy old man time.
We should change the name of the podcast.
Maybe.
2 grumpy old men talking football. But anyway.
Maybe. So I did some digging. I went back to every draft since 2020. And I looked at all the running backs taken in round 1, all the running backs taken in rounds 2 and 3, and all the running backs taken in rounds 4 to 7. And I decided, was this a hit or a miss? And it just in general, are they good performers at the NFL level? Since 2020, we've only had 5 first-round running backs. CEH, and he's the only miss. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, only miss. Najee Harris hit, Travis Etienne hit, Bijan, Jameer. we're all good, right? 80% over that time. Granted, the numbers are smaller, but 80% chance you get that first round running back, you are good to go. Now let's get in rounds 2 and 3. Since 2020, 26 running backs have been taken,
Mm-hmm.
12 hits, 14 misses, 46% chance. So we'll just say 1 and 2. And again,
Okay.
you can argue some of these, and I'm included last year's back. So like Jonathan Brooks, Trey Benson, Blake Corn, Marshawn Lloyd. We poor Brooks.
Verdict's still out, but for now they're a miss.
Right, right. Tank Bigsby, I was kind of up in the air. I considered him a miss. So there's some, here and there, whatever. Less than 50% hit. Now we're going to get into Cam Scattaboo range. Okay. Rounds 4 to 7. In 2020, there were 8 running backs taken rounds 4 to 7. No hits. You haven't even heard of half of those guys. In 2021, there were 15 running backs taken in rounds 4 to 7. Stevenson, we talked about, and Chuba Hubbard, only 2 hits. So you get to the end, including last year. I considered your boy Tyrone Tracy a hit. I
Yeah.
mean, he did great.
Yeah.
Not 66 running backs taken in rounds 4 to 7 over the last 5 drafts. 9 hits, 57 misses. Cam Scattaboo's got a 14% chance of being something. So, as much as I loved his college tape, and listen, you will have yourself a good time. Just put on his highlights. I'm not a big highlight film guy. I like to see the actual game. I want to see what
Yeah.
he's doing when he doesn't have the ball. Put it on, and it's wonderful.
It's fun.
Yes, it is. I'm not putting too many chips in a basket that's got a 14% hit rate. If I had to guess, you mentioned Tyrone Tracy can catch the ball. I feel like that Scattaboo's maybe one of his better attributes that he has as a football player. Because yeah, he can run and break a bunch of tackles. Arizona State didn't go up against the best defenses and things. He's built like a bowling ball, which I don't know that he has the speed and the quickness he's going to need to make a living as a lead back at the NFL level. Um, I'm going to pass on Scattaboo,
Can he
unfortunately,
do
because
enough goal line? Can he do enough goal line work to be worthy?
if he becomes the goal line back and the third down back, then he's going to pay off at his ADP. He's got to get both of those though. He can't just if he's a third down back. I don't think he's going to get enough work in that offense to make it happen. If he's just a goal line back, definitely not good. I mean, what's this Giants offense going to look like? You know what I
Right.
mean? Are
Like,
they
how often are they going to be on the goal line?
exactly? So, with all that being said, the stars really have to align, not just for him. Facial Tootin, Jaden Blue, Jarquez Hunter, all these guys that win rounds 4 to 7. I mean, it's really. I mean, I hear people talking about Koski Merritt, the 7th round pick for the
Yeah.
Redskins, or I'm sorry, the Commanders. Well,
No.
sure. I mean, if you want to take him with your last pick, I guess, but I, it's just the odds of those picks paying off of any running back drafted in rounds 4 to 7 is it's so slim.
All right. So let's clump the other fourth and fifth rounders together real quick.
Yep.
And I'm not buying. Let me be very quick. Jacquez Hunter. There's been some buzz about him. Kyron Williams isn't going anywhere, folks. Let's settle down. This is a Rams offense that right now they're going for it. Matthew Stafford at the end of the end of it. They didn't bring in Devontae Adams to go with a committee running back. They're going to run Kyron Williams into the ground. Devontae, Puka, Stafford's last legs. I'm not counting on a 4th-round running back with the Rams having a major role. I'm just not. That's not how the team is built. However, I want to talk about because you've mentioned Javonte Williams a couple of times. And Jaden Blue, 5th-round pick, 12th overall in the 5th round. But he landed in a spot that makes him interesting. He landed in Dallas, out of Texas. Javonte Williams, he's just never been what people thought he was. Denver let him walk away. His ADP is pretty high, right? He's like that, he's the lottery ticket round 12-ish right now. You gave the stats, but is Jaden Blue different potentially just because there's a path there for him that could easily open up? Or is that 5-12 overall pick hanging over your head that you're like, no, thank you? So I guess what I'm saying is you're in round 12. Cam Scatterboo or Jaden Blow?
I'm taking Scatterboo.
Yeah.
I'm taking Scatterboo. Yeah, because Tyron Tracy, as well as he played last year as a late round rookie, I appreciate that. Hats off to you, buddy. But he doesn't scare me in terms of workload as much as someone like Javonte Williams. And look, I know he's been a laughing stock for 2 years in a row, Miles Sanders, but he's been productive in his career
Yeah.
in Philly. He got a huge, as far as
Huge
running
deal
backs
for
go,
Carolina.
a huge deal from Carolina. And he dealt with some injuries. Maybe he's healthy now. Maybe that's another um, running back that Jaden Blue has to jump on the depth chart. And is Jaden Blue even the best rookie running back on that team? Because they also drafted Phil Maffa 2 rounds later. Blue was a fifth round pick. Maffa was a seventh round. I know there are Maffa truthers out there that love that dude. Um, you know, I I don't see it as much, but I would prefer Scattaboo. And it's not really that close for me.
Okay. Bashal Tootin was drafted in the fourth round by the Jaguars out of Virginia Tech. Now he's walking into a situation where there's Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby. Too crowded, let's be honest, Etienne was a major bust. Bigsby doesn't really profile as a 3-down back. Is there a path for Tootin to earn enough carries to be fantasy viable?
I would again say no. I know I'm grumpy old man again, but Jacksonville's going to have a new offense, right? They got Liam Cohen coming in from Tampa Bay,
Tampa.
right? So when I look at ETN and I look at Rashad White, I just I can't help myself but see comparisons between those two players. And yes, ETN had a horrific year last year. What was he, RB 36 at the
He
end of
was
the year?
droppable. He was
Right.
legitimately droppable.
Yes. And he was getting drafted in the second round of
Yeah.
most fantasy drafts last year and end up being RB 36 and losing a ton of work to Tank Bigsby, who also struggled for a year or two before finding his sea legs last year. I think Bigsby still is probably the early down guy. I think ETN's a Rashad White role. So what did Keyshawn Vaughn do in Tampa Bay? What did Sean Tucker do in Tampa Bay? I think that's the Bashal Tutin route is that RB3, and it's not going to do anything for you. Now,
He's going to have a moment that people are going to run to the waiver wire. They're going to add
correct.
him. And then 2 weeks later, after 2 games of 5 carries, he's going to be back on that waiver wire.
That's right.
Final player we didn't talk about. And I love this one, though. I do like the spot Caleb Johnson landed in Pittsburgh. Jaylen Warren has never been able to stay healthy, never been a real true number one back. Pittsburgh is in an awkward state right now, trying to stay relevant. Another 9-win season potentially. They sold their soul to the devil by dipping their toe in the Aaron Rodgers situation. Caleb Johnson can have 200 carries this year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, how productive? But you go ahead. Is that productive enough? You're hesitating. Do you disagree with my number there?
I do. I think Caleb Johnson could have 250 carries in that offense. I do. And I'm not a Caleb Johnson guy. He was my RB7 in this class, but so much. I mean, honestly, a lot of times where you go matters almost just as much as who you
It's
are.
so funny. You just answered the question I was going to end the show with. What's more important right now for these rookies? Talent or landing spot? And you read my mind. It's landing spot. Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, think about if Hampton would have gone to Pittsburgh instead. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Right. Right. We forget Jaylen Warren even exists if something like that happens. The only reason we're talking about Warren is because Mike Tomlin came out and said he's our lead back and he definitely can pass block. He's a very good pass blocker. But Najee Harris had 263 carries last year. You're telling me Caleb Johnson can't get 250? And like I said, I wasn't a big Johnson fan. He ran a bad 40, which I saw on tape. I mean,
his profile is Najee Harris.
sure. Well, Yeah, because he's a bigger back too. He's not like the tackle breaker. I don't think that Najee was, but and I think long speed he's good, but he's got to get going. He's and Pittsburgh
He's like you
offense.
and I. We got to get our momentum behind us, bro.
Yeah, that's right. But he was super productive at Iowa. I think last year he had something like almost 50% of the offensive production of the whole team came from him. And I had an interesting comp when I was watching him, and we're gonna have to go in the Wayback Machine, but watching him play and watching him run because he's very smooth. And people have said Le'Veon Bell because he's a patient runner, he'll wait for his blocks to develop, which is good. I saw Robert Smith. Remember him way
Ohio
back?
State,
Yeah, Minnesota Vikings
Minnesota.
running back. Yeah, and look, if he can be Robert Smith, man, he's good to go. Pittsburgh was fourth in rushing attempts last year. That's going to be great for him. And I really don't
Can he
think
catch the
that
ball enough? Because Rodgers loves a check down.
that's true. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'll check on some college stats for him on catching the ball, but even he doesn't need. I mean, if he's the Najee Harris, Jalen Warren can be that third down back, and
Yeah, that's a fair point. Warren probably a better pass catcher than Najee Harris ever was, and that was kind of his role. So
yeah,
the
and he's
question becomes like, and Jalen Warren's not going away, right? Like, let's acknowledge that he's not going to be buried by this rookie. But all right, so let me ask you this. And
mhm,
then we're going to wrap up because we said we'd be on the air for 30 minutes, and I think you and I, we have quickly realized we could do this for about 8 hours until the wives come kicking down the door,
that's
right?
right.
Nonetheless, if I got off this show and I turned to my wife and she said, how'd it go with Bobby? And I said, babe, after Ashton Genty, Bobby's going to be tempted to take Caleb Johnson as his second rookie draft pick. I'm not saying second round, but the second rookie running back on his board for this year because of that location. Would I be totally wrong?
No. As of right now, he is my third run. I have him in RB 27 right now,
Behind Hampton?
behind Hampton, but I could just flip them and be okay with it. And honestly, look, Brian Robinson and DeAndre Swift are the two running backs above them. If we get to camp and we know Caleb Johnson is that starting running back,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
going to go up,
Like
up, up.
Brian, neither one of those running backs are holding keeping Caleb Johnson off my team.
Yes. Okay. So let me ask you a question. Let's say we know for a fact Caleb Johnson's going to be starting running back for the Steelers. He's going to get first and second down work for sure, occasional third down work, whatever. Who do you want?
He's an
Him
RB
or
two for me. He's an
right?
RB
Oh,
two.
easy. Aaron Jones or Caleb Johnson?
Ooh, Caleb Johnson.
Okay. Chuba
Aaron
Hubbard,
Jones is 30 years old, and they traded for Jordan Mason.
right? Chuba Hubbard or Caleb Johnson.
Chuba Hubbard.
Okay.
I actually like the Carolina offense.
I don't hate it. Yeah, I agree. I also would go Chuba. James Conner or Caleb Johnson.
I keep waiting for James Conner to fall off, and he
I,
just won't. He
I know.
just won't. Trey
I know.
Benson, this is it, and that James Conner just keeps. Uh, James Conner is a. I have the same mindset of Conner as yet not as good a player, but the same mindset as Derrick Henry. I will keep taking Derrick Henry as my RB1 until he shows me he's no longer that. I'll take James Conner as my RB2 until he shows me he's no longer that. Fair?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Like I go through all those numbers and all those hits and misses, and it's like, well, Bucky Irving was a fourth round pick last year, and he was an RB1, and he's going in the second round of drafts this year. There's always going to be an anomaly, and Derrick Henry is a perfect example, and James Conner as well as the anomalies. Yeah, you can say you don't play old running backs, and you're going to be right most of the time. But when you got a guy like Derrick Henry, you just can't go away from that.
No, you can't.
He's
You got to stick with that.
shown
Give
too
me one more. Give me one more with Caleb Johnson. Give me one more. This one or that one with Caleb Johnson.
um
Give me another one comparable to James Conner.
yeah, so I mean, how about DeAndre Swift? Lead back, Chicago.
Caleb Johnson.
Hold whoa. So you don't care about Ben Johnson, new offensive coordinator?
I don't think Rashawn goes away in Chicago either, though.
Okay. So right now, what you're telling me is Caleb Johnson, if he's a lead back, he's going to be right around RB 20 for you.
Yeah,
Because like for
Yeah.
me, I got Connor, I got Hubbard, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift, like all kind of right around
You
RB
agree with
20 for
me
me.
with him over Aaron Jones?
I think so. That's the toughest one. But probably. And if he does
If
go,
Jordan
then
Mason wasn't there, I probably would have gone Aaron Jones.
agreed. Agreed. But Aaron Jones had the biggest workload of his career last year. Did you know that?
Which is a scary thing for a
The dude's
30-year-old
like
running back.
right. He's like 29, 30 years old. I know. It's crazy. But you like well, Joe Mixon with Nick Chubb in town. Does Nick Chubb scare you?
N- Nick Chubb, no. Joe Mixon's second half, yes. They ran Mixon into the ground last year in Houston. And if you had Mixon, you were feeling great early in the
Yeah.
year. And then
RB1.
in your fantasy playoffs and towards the end of the season, he had nothing left. He had nothing left. I still think it's a 70-30 split in favor of Mixon with a better quality 30 now. Don't forget, Damian Pierce is still there too. So, yeah, but there's a plan. I think there's a plan in place to at least protect Mixon a little bit because I think Houston realized they overworked him last year. So, Mixon is an RB2, but I think he's a limited RB2 between the other players there and his own age factor and usage. Joe Mixon has never shared the backfield with anybody, Cincinnati or Houston. And that will wear you out after a while. And I think you started seeing that last year.
I agree. Last one, Tony Pollard or Caleb Johnson.
Caleb Johnson. Tony Pollard is a running back I don't think I have. And he did. He was more usable than I thought he would be last year.
RB21.
And I'll be honest with you. If we had listed 50 running backs, if you said, Anthony, list me 50 running backs right now in the NFL, I probably would not have said Tony Pollard. That's how, and maybe that's my swing and miss. But I'll be honest, he wasn't even on my radar.
RB21 last year.
I know. And it's an underrated 21. That's probably why I would have swung and missed on him. But
All
it's
right,
going to be
man.
interesting to see where that offense goes this year as well.
Agreed. Agreed.
So, listen, this has been fun. We want to thank everybody who has tuned in and watched this, whether right away or throughout the summer. Hopefully, this helps you throughout as you get ready for your fantasy drafts. This is called Clipboard Confessional with Bobby and Anthony. It's our very first episode. Hopefully, you liked it. We'll be coming at you all summer long, talking about different positions, rankings, Bobby's rankings, my rankings, you name it. We'll have it all for you there. Bob, this has been more fun than I even expected. We went longer than we both expected, which tells us it was that much fun. And I look forward to doing it again real soon, my friend.
Grumpy old men, buddy. Love it.
There you go. Grumpy old men rule the world. We both know that. Ask our kids. All right, everybody. Again, thanks for watching. And we will see you next time right here. Clipboard Confessional with Bobby and Anthony. Have a good one, folks.